You know, some stories are just so wild you have to hear them to believe them. And the story behind the American flag, it's definitely one of those. We're talking about a high school kid, a teacher who was less than impressed, and what might just be the greatest school project of all time.
So let's just start with a quick question. Who do you think designed the current 50-star flag we see today? Was it some fancy government committee, a famous designer? Well, the real answer is probably not what you're expected. Get this, the designer was a 17-year-old high school student, a kid. His name was Robert G. Heft.
And he didn't create it for some big national contest or anything like that. Nope, he designed it for a regular old high school history class project.
And here is the absolute kicker. For designing what would become one of the most famous symbols on the entire planet, his teacher gave him a B-. A B-. And believe it or not, that grade is where this incredible story really takes off. So how on earth did this all happen? Well, let's rewind the clock to 1958. At the time, the country had a 48-star flag, but one student, he had the vision to see what was coming just around the corner. Okay, so back then, the official U.S. flag had 48 stars, but Alaska and Hawaii were both on the verge of becoming states. And Robert Heft, our student, he predicted that the country would need a 50-star flag really soon. So for his project, he didn't just design for the present, he designed for the future. Pretty smart, right? And his process was actually simple, but, totally brilliant. He did his homework, researched all the official rules for flag design, made that spot-on prediction about the new states, and then he got to work. He actually used his family's sewing machine to cut out 50 stars and sew together a prototype. Talk about a hands-on project.
So he turns in this incredibly forward-thinking, well-researched, handmade project, and boom, B-. His teacher just wasn't buying it. But this is where a disappointing grade turns into a history-making challenge.
So the story goes that his teacher, a guy named Stanley Pratt, was just not impressed. He apparently told Robert something like, "If you don't like the grade, get it accepted in Washington." You can almost hear the sarcasm, right? I mean, what are the odds of that actually happening? But Robert didn't hear a sarcastic comment. He heard a mission. That B- wasn't the end of the story. For him, it was the starting pistol for this unbelievable campaign.
So Robert decided to do exactly what his teacher dared him to do, get his flag noticed in Washington. And this wasn't something he tried for a week and gave up on. No, this took 2 full years of serious, hardcore dedication.
I mean, just look at this journey. It all kicks off with that B- in 1958. Then for the next 2 years, this teenager was just relentless, trying to get literally anyone in the government to take a look at his design. That level of persistence is just incredible.
And how'd he do it? The old school way. We're talking 21 letters sent to the White House, countless phone calls. He just refused to give up on his idea. That is pure, raw determination.
Now, after all that time, after all those letters that probably never got a reply, you'd think you'd just move on. But he didn't. And then, the moment that makes this whole story legendary finally happened.
2 years later, the silence from Washington was finally broken. The White House, the very place he had been trying so hard to reach, was now calling him. And it wasn't a secretary or some junior staffer who called back. No way. It was President Dwight D. Eisenhower himself. Can you even imagine picking up the phone at home and hearing that the President of the United States wants to talk to you about your high school history project? Just wow. So President Eisenhower calls to give him the news. After looking at over 1,500 different designs that people had submitted, the president had officially chosen Robert's, the one from his school project, to become the next official flag of the United States. And of course, the story comes full circle. That teacher, Stanley Pratt, he absolutely kept his word. As soon as he heard the news, he changed that B- to a very, very well-deserved A. It's just such an amazing journey, from a B- in some high school classroom all the way to the flagpoles of an entire nation. It really makes you think, doesn't it? You just never know which kid's idea today might be the one that ends up shaping all of our tomorrows.